Season 2, Episode 1 of All Black Men Need Therapy. My name is Chief.
And I'm Bell.
And here we go again. Got my homie partner player from the West Coast, from the West Side. Introduce yourself, P.
What's happening? My name is Prentice Powell. I'm from West Oakland. That's all you need to know.
West Oakland, in the hell. Yeah, so
Here.
I brought my man P on. We're going to have a conversation today, get deep about it. And then...
You want to give them the people some background about P?
Okay, so let me go ahead and do it anyway. Prentice, world-renowned poet. What was it? 4th-ranked poet in the world.
Just be like poet, bud. That's it.
People want to know, like, why the fuck I got your black ass on the show?
Because I'm hurt, nigga. I'm struggling. That's why you got me on the show, but I need some healing. I need therapy.
That's why
What you mean why you got me on?
That's why we do it. I'm going to give the people a fun fact, though.
Okay.
And Prentice, I never told you this. We never had this conversation. But when you were on Arsenio Hall show, I text Chief and was like, something to the effect of, this nigga way better than you, or something like that. I said to him, and he responded. He's like, "You mean this nigga right here?" And y'all was together. Wherever y'all was at, y'all was together. He sent me the picture. I was like, "Oh shit, that's hilarious."
Yeah. See,
we was together when you sent him the text.
Yeah, when I sent him the text.
I am somebody.
He'll get it twisted. He's a homie.
I know people, you know what I'm saying? No, that is pretty fucking funny though.
That is.
So we were brainstorming and we figured we wanted to open the season with some real talk. So today's conversation is going to be wrapped around why men don't change for good women and breaking poor dating habits. We're gonna try to block it all in and move forward from there, but I think it's a good way to open the door. It's a catchy title, Why Men Don't Change for Good Women. All the women gonna jump on and start leaving, some type of comments. We gotta, look back at those and see what they say.
Right.
In dealing with the first episode, the first season, we always tried to find some statistics that would attribute to the conversation. And I looked over some stuff, and the numbers have gone up. They say it's now 60% of all married couples get divorced.
Oh, it went from 50 to 60, yeah?
From 50 to 60, every 13 seconds, there's a divorce in America.
Damn. I was going to ask, I'm curious what the statistic for the average duration of a marriage in America. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's 60 now, I'm curious, what's the average length of time for marriage in this country?
5 to 7 years.
Really?
That's actually a lot longer than I thought.
Right, 5 to 7 years.
That is, man. I thought I did damn near 7, but I thought I was on some like
you a statistic.
Longevity type
5 and
shit.
7, you average. Yeah.
Damn, bud. I thought I was doing something.
Nah, you didn't break the mold, cuz.
Damn, bud. Okay.
So it says that couples date. 11% of couples date once or more a week. 30%,
Like go on dates?
Like actually go out on dates and like do, the traditional courting stuff. It says 23% do it less often than once a month.
Have sex?
Date, just go on dates.
Oh.
And
23?
And 36% hardly ever. You don't think that has a lot to do with...
Dude, can you imagine what the statistics are now, currently? Like imagine
quarantine stats?
Yeah, like.
But you gotta improvise now. You gotta be at home lighting candles and setting up date forts.
Nah, bro, I'm talking about the single people.
B, I just put y'all on. Set up date forts, B. Set forts? Up a fort in the living room, put some candles in there with some sheets and shit, and make your lady a dinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you gotta do something. You gotta do something.
You gotta improvise when you in the crib. So, being a newly married man, how often would you say you and your lady date?
Well, pre-COVID, we once a week, once every 2 weeks.
That's above average.
Yeah, we also like vacation a lot. We probably vacation once a quarter, and it doesn't have to be like Mexico or nothing like that. But we leave the state like once a quarter. We'll go somewhere, and we probably date. I would say consistently every 10 days for sure. We were going on a date because because it was like our time to like, because you don't know. But like when you're in a relationship and you like live and you're both professionals and you got a lot of shit going on. It's like sometimes you're like passing ships. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just so much stuff going on. So sometimes that dinner is like a stand-in to catch up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, let's download. Let's like, what's on your heart? What you feeling? What's going on? Type stuff. You know what I mean?
So, Pete, I know you're not married, but you've been with your lady for a while now. How often would you say y'all date?
You know, I was thinking about the question. It depends. I think it depends on the dynamics too. We got 3 kids in the crib. You know what I'm saying? So when you put that dynamic alone, I don't know how many children you got or if you got children, but that makes a big ass difference on the concept of even dating sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because that idea of a date then becomes not necessarily some shit you got to leave the house to do, but something you may be able to do within the environment you're confined to at that time. But for us, we'd like to have fun though. You know what I mean? Like we're naturally fun together. So we find ourselves randomly doing things that we enjoy together. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
No, for sure.
So I don't know if I can necessarily say a planned focused date average would probably be, maybe I want to say like once a week, honestly, man. Like once a week. Cause we'll do something like go to a bar and have some drinks. And for us, that hour and a half is what we needed. So you know what I'm saying? It can hold the same weight as that ideal dinner in a movie. You know what I'm saying?
And that's
depending on how you like to have fun.
Exactly. I think it is specific to each couple. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like personally speaking, me, like a date for me is like cuddling on the couch. Like
that
me,
part too. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that she got to get out the house. Like that doesn't work for her. You know what I'm saying? But for me, so I guess it's based on individual. And kids definitely throw a monkey wrench. Like my son is 7 months today, and ever since he's been born, it's been
I'm about to say it's gotta be tough for you with a newborn baby and COVID combined. Like you know what I'm saying? It's hard to really plan that and get out. So I'm really good friends with both of you, and I know a lot about the both of you. And I can say personally, I've been witness to seeing the evolving and the changing and the growth within you guys. And the topic at hand is why men don't change for good women. And obviously I can't say every man doesn't, but because I've seen the both of you mend your personalities and your characters for a good woman. So Belle, why don't men change for good women?
That's crazy. That's crazy that you're in that space to be able to look at both of us and have so much. My bad, bro. I didn't mean to.
That's how we do.
That just tricked me because it put more of a it gave more context to the dynamic right now. Like you got that type of. I know the insight you got on my life.
Right.
Like, that's your man as long as he's been. I know the insight you got to have on his life. So if you be able to look at both of us from that perspective was kind of dope.
And so it's kind of like, you know, when we see those memes, like, you know, why don't men address their friends who are terrible fathers? Like, nah, I don't hang with them dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
So when you say, why don't men change for good women? It's like, we do. You know what I'm saying? Like the guys I know, they do.
But I think everyone that you know that has, there's been a time where they hadn't.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so like,
absolutely.
Like I think what I was gonna initially say is I don't think there's an overarching answer. Like I don't think it's just like blanket. This is why they don't do it. Like I don't think that. But what I think plays a part is maturity, right? I think maturity plays a part. I think status, right? Whether it be popularity, socioeconomic status, I think that also plays a part. Environment, I think plays a part. You know, and I'll speak for myself. Like I've talked about this on previous episodes. Like I'll give one solid girl. There's been others, but one that was worth changing for that I didn't. And the only reason why I didn't, it was solely maturity.
Right.
Like solely maturity. That there's no two other ways about it. It was maturity. Because I mean there were other factors, but when you pull back the layers, it just boils down to maturity. Like that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. What you think, Chief?
I know, I definitely agree. When you reference maturity, I think about myself and reasons why I haven't changed, and it is maturity, and I think it's experience. Right? It comes with maturity, because sometimes people associate age with maturity, and that's not necessarily the truth.
Agreed.
They're not synonymous.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the
Agreed.
it's the experience. You know what I'm saying? So, P, why don't men change for good women?
I think it's circumstantial too, a lot like the date question. For me, if I think, just put it in context, just being a habitual cheater my whole life up until my relationship now, you know what I'm saying?
Habitual line stepper.
Yeah, habitual. You know what I'm saying? And not saying it with any pride, but being able to, like, the part I like now is that I could just say it flat out with a straight face and keep it moving because it's a chapter in my life. It's not something I subconsciously know I'm still struggling with on the low or anything. You know what I mean? So as a stage, I think about this. There's a lot of men who are in the position I was in when I was, you know, when I wasn't changing. My routine was women were always an option. You know what I'm saying? So with women being so much of an option, there was nothing within me that really felt like I had to really change. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was working for me, whether it was morally right or wrong, what I was doing was working for me. So I didn't really have a real reason to. I wasn't doing anything in my life that made me literally say, I need to get this part of my life together. You know what I mean? It's not that the woman wasn't good enough. It's like the maturity thing. Like, I just wasn't at that space, and there wasn't anything significant enough to me, in my opinion, being able to look now. And that experience that you talk about, I didn't have it. So the way I was functioning, I thought was working for me. You know what I'm saying?
And to each his own, right? Like, and not to go down a rabbit hole and not to make excuses for us. As Chief would tell you, like, I'm the king of justifying my bullshit with reason. But another thing I'll say is, like, being black men, there weren't a lot of successful examples of, like, quite frankly, men changing for good women, right? Like successful marriages, successful like in our environment. So you pick up on what you observe, right? So if what you're observing is, like, you're a good looking dude, you got a lot going for you, women, and just hear me clear, women can be viewed as a commodity, right? Like, at that particular stage in your life, like, then you factor in Instagram, you factor in, you know, all the social networks. It's like, now you have access to more girls, right? Quite frankly, before it was just the girls in your neighborhood, right? Or the girls in the neighboring town that you can, like, commute to. But now it's like, you got girls getting getting flued in, right? So it's like,
it don't matter. Yeah.
It don't matter where they are. So, and I think you have to have a strong, solid foundation in order. Two things. You have to have a strong, solid foundation if that's what you want. Like, if you want to change. Because one thing that we didn't address is, none of us said that there was a girl that I regret not changing for. Like, it was like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't change because we didn't want to change. Like, that's the bottom line. We didn't want to change. And it was like, because, like you said too, Prentice, like, at that stage of my life, this is what I wasn't willing to do that. It was working. So, like, and it was working based on what I knew working to be, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what my desired outcome was, I was fulfilling.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
In listening to you guys, what I hear and what we're saying is basically, it doesn't even matter the quality of the woman. The man has to want to change for himself.
100%.
Bottom line. Bottom line.
So here, in contrast to that, though, personally, just from my experiences, many of the lessons that I've learned in regards to helping myself change, evolve, mold, whatever you want to call it, has come from women. So as much as it's not the woman who is, I guess, making us change, they're teaching us what we need to know in order to change. If that, I don't know if I'm making good sense.
You are making sense. And if you can go, Prentice, go ahead.
No, go ahead, bro. You good.
The crazy shit is, I think back to my relationships, and I specifically remember my last relationship. So, like, full disclosure, I've been with my wife for 9 years, married for 2. My previous relationship, I was with her for 7. And I remember there was a point where we were on the outs. It was mostly 95% of it was my fault. And I had shifted. My mindset shifted. I got a lot of clarity in my life, and I tried to get back with her. And I'm like, look, You know me. If I tell you I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna make these changes, and what is gonna suck for you is everything that I put you through will be in vain, right? So she taught me a lot of things. Like all my relationships, I've only had 4 serious relationships. They all taught me something to get me to where I am right now. So what ends up happening, unfortunately, is those lessons are learned, and then the last person that picks you up or comes into the picture when you're fully matured, they benefit from all those things.
So it's like that thing on TV, like I can't remember what episode it was, but it was like it was a TV show where the girl was like, every dude she broke up with ended up getting married, and she like molded them for their next every dude she left her ended up getting married to the next girl they met.
I think and then what happens is women often feel like our growth was at their expense. You know what I'm saying? So they then from there, because it didn't work out and you may not change for this one, and they perceive you to be different for this other one, a lot of times it can be the same situation over and over again, because if I look at the other side of, as women being options, I was used to a woman serving a certain purpose for a certain amount of time. And that doesn't mean physically, it could be emotionally, it could be spiritually, something, but she served that purpose for a specific amount of time. So if I'm constantly, if I'm the type of man who's constantly rotating women into my life, which I wasn't necessarily, but some are, how are you really going to find somebody who motivates you to change and be consistent with that change? You know what I'm saying? Because once you're not feeling them or they not feeling you, then when's your motivation to change? You know, so the concept of wanting to change for a woman to me is like, it's only based upon the quality of the relationship you have with that person, because once that goes bad, where's your motivation to do better or even do the same shit you was just working on?
So now in that sense of, even though she's motivated you and now you're doing the right thing, she's in her same essence of motivating you, she's tired of your shit. So now that you're making those changes are essentially for her, because she don't want nothing to do with you no more. So in essence, she's preparing you for that next one. You know what I'm saying?
Unpopular opinion?
Yeah.
Maybe she wasn't it.
I mean, yeah, I think that's clear, bro. I think that's clear only because of my personal experience. If I wasn't in the relationship I was right now, my shit may be totally different. But knowing me,
but that's what I'm saying though, P. Right? It's different now. You're a different person, right?
Yep.
But hypothetically, this doesn't have to be you necessarily, but if you're who you are today, and that previous girl you meet right now, would you be who you are today with her?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, because I think about it, right? It's like, there's a lot of shit that we talked about this before that you don't realize you need until you meet that person, right? Whether it be how you are going to be in a relationship or what you're looking for in a relationship. There's things that are revealed based on sometimes the women that you meet and you deal with, right? So what I'm saying is, you were molded, right? We were molded based on experiences. And all I'm saying is, why don't we change? Well, maybe that wasn't the right person for us to change for. Even though they're good, right? Even though like on paper they're good, everything's good. Maybe there was one thing that was missing that didn't allow us to turn the corner, that we didn't know until we met the next person.
So here I'm going to use you as reference right now, P. Just because I know the work you've been doing on yourself because of your past situations. No disrespect to your lady now, and I know she does. She has a lot to do with molding who you are as a man and dealing with certain things. But I know the growth or the work that you put in to help you be a better you prior to her requesting, molding, influencing, motivating these changes in you. You know what I'm saying? So in the same token, I think the man said, I need to do this work within myself. Then you need a lady, and now I guess the requirements change, or standards rise a little bit more, because now you have to adhere to what this particular relationship requests, desires. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think what happens is, I think it takes 2 parts. I think one, we can be hypocritical a little because we say it has nothing to do with the woman, and then we could say, maybe she wasn't the right one. I think what it really is like, it takes two parts. We have to be willing to have the desire to change. And when we bring a woman into the picture, her addition has to create the proper playground for us or platform for us to be able to make those adjustments. You know what I'm saying? So the way you guys think together, whatever that is, that space that you guys create, it has to be the right environment for you to, I don't know, purge if you got to, or deal with this shit while you're interacting and building with her. Because sometimes we learn and we grow, but we haven't necessarily put into practice the new behavior. You know what I'm saying? And I know for myself, I could look back and think of a couple of things I've done in this relationship. Nothing dishonest. Nobody got no shit on me. But things that I allowed to happen that were a part of my regular DNA. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we get them DMs and DMs come with photos. You know what I'm saying? And
I know what you're saying.
My regular DNA, I respond to that, or I don't respond, but I allow certain things to happen. And it's not that I'm in the same mental state. It's that I have to start putting into practice that, I need a different response. I need a different behavior when this situation presents itself. But I also need to have a playground or a platform with the woman I'm in a relationship with where I can be like, I'm letting you know this happened maybe, or I'm working on this. Or if something happens, or if it's what's that in your phone, how's that conversation go then? You know what I'm saying? How am I going to be defensive? Am I going to approach it? How is she taking this whole conversation? Does she believe me? Is this, you know what I'm saying? Because what I've learned is certain things, shedding that old behavior sometimes can rear its face. And it's how you address it in that moment that can make or break trust or the direction you're going in. You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree. And I think that's like you said, in part of how the woman may respond. Because I certainly believe in the moment is 100% a true testament of how much you've changed, how much work you get. Because when that moment presents itself, now you got a challenge right now. The challenge is there. How do you respond? And I think ultimately how you respond is what determines your character.
Yeah. I think it's the platform she provides, man. She provides the right platform and you're on the right page. I think you combine those two. You can change, but the change has to be motivated with you. Hands down. Hands down.
Yeah, because if you don't want to change, it really don't matter who come along.
So one of the notes I put down that says ego / afraid to look in the mirror and recognize your flaws and shortcomings. In the middle of your bullshit, like my man said at one point, he was the king of justifying shit. So in the middle of all that going on, when you realize, like when you know it ain't right, why are we still doing it? Why are we still doing it, Pete? When is it convenience? Is it like, because the women treat it like?
Well, you said you started off by talking about pride and ego, which are probably one of the tallest tasks for men to overcome.
For sure.
In general.
Yeah.
Right? Like pride and ego is just like, especially when it comes to you being challenged as a man, right? Like you being challenged as a man in a relationship, and not necessarily your sexuality, but like just you being challenged, right? Like, I want this. Well, no, we're not doing this, right? And then now ego comes in. So that and I, for you, I know that was one of your biggest challenges, like ego. You know what I'm saying? And there's no ego. It doesn't matter who's on the other side of that conversation, right? Because that's a battle within. I like to think that I like to think two things. I like to think I didn't have like necessarily an ego. The women I was with, they may completely disagree with that, which, hey, I get it. But also one thing too, is I was really self-aware, right? Now, that's good and bad. I was very self-aware, but I didn't make any changes. You know what I mean? Like I was really self-aware I knew what the fuck I needed to do. I just wasn't doing it. And I was cool with that, right? And there's some people who aren't aware and that need to brought to their attention. And once it's brought to their attention, they make a change. But I didn't make any changes because, like we said, it was working for me. Where my life was at that time, it was fine. Like I had no worries.
So in listening to what you're saying, the women take it, and I know this is fucked up, but it's crazy because in the middle of this cheating thing, the women take it like we don't care. And that is completely not.
That's kind of an oxymoron, though.
You're right, but what I'm saying is, so it's like why the fuck are you doing all this shit when you claim to have loved me and blah 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 blah?
But it has less to do with them and more to do with us.
And
that's where it goes.
That's why it's a double-edged sword, because it has everything to do with them and nothing to do with them in the same token.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I'm keeping 100, I say, and then we know it has less to do with them and more to do with us, and then they get placed in this position where they feel conflicted how much they're allowing themselves to tolerate. And if you're not trying to change and you get that little green light past this where you like, oh shit, your back is against the wall, but somehow you see the end of this conversation not leading to a place you don't want it to lead to, it doesn't motivate you to do anything different. You know what I'm saying? So then, I think we in a way become enabled when we're allowed to repeat the same type of behavior. And 100%. We've been repeating the same type of behavior with each woman. So again, it goes back to us.
Another thing too, speaking from personal experience, like somebody had told me years and years ago, she's Mrs. Right, but not Mrs. Right now, right? So, like, for me personally, my last relationship, it was like, damn, this is a good girl. Like, damn, I want to hold her. I want to make sure I hold on to her, but I'm not ready to stop doing everything I was doing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, let me just try to get by to see what I can get away with until I get it. And this was a real conversation I had with myself, like, till I can get all out my system, and then I'll be ready to be with her. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, at that point, to your point, it's like the damage is done. It's like, how much more is she gonna tolerate?
That's what we talked about.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you can't expect her to stay with you after this. You know what I mean? It's like you've done too much. You know, so that process, to bring it full circle, again, is self-healing, right? You have to be aware, and you have to be in a place of, whether it be maturity, whether it be, lifestyle, whether it be age, that you want to make a change, right? And you can't, no matter who she is, won't prompt that.
And it's
you can't do both.
Yeah.
You can't work on yourself and do the same bullshit.
Yeah.
That's what I learned. You can't. You gotta stop being selfish on your time away from a woman. So if you got downtime when you're not in a relationship, and if you're spending that time just fucking your way to the next commitment, you're not giving yourself the space. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you got to sober up. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of this shit is addictive.
And that's the conversation I had with my man not too long ago. Like, and that's a great way to put it. Fucking your way to the next commitment.
You got to sober up.
That's pretty much what it was. Fucking my way to the next and see, what happens next. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yo, you know what? I got to go cold turkey. I got to cut everything off and just work on me and lock in and do what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, and before you can even do that, I think, like, for the men, because this thing ain't all for women, like, we got to understand as men, like, that shit is going to be uncomfortable, bro. Like, that shit is going to be hard. It's not going to feel right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to change the way you've been operating. It's not supposed to feel good in the beginning. It ain't immediate changes. You don't immediately get it and wake up the next morning on a different level. You got to groom yourself to do that shit.
And we don't want to do that shit, though. Men don't.
I know, and that's the part. So there has to be something that happens in your own life that kind of motivates you to get to that point.
Men don't want to look in the mirror and go, fam, fix it. Stop the bullshit. Like, we don't want to have that conversation with ourselves. And even when
I think we can, though. I think that's the scary part. I feel like we can. We had that conversation with ourselves and we still do that shit. We the dangerous ones, the ones who realize it and still do it.
The self-aware ones.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But again, I think we also have to look at, inspect what we expect, right? What's the expectation, right? What are we changing for? Like, that could be a conversation that you're having. Like, what am I about to do? I don't want to be married. Like, if I got a girl, cool, but I don't want to be married. So it's like, if that's the mindset of any man, it's like, no, I'm not changing, right? And this is a true story. I got one of my teammates. He's hilarious, man. He was married, he got kids and got divorced and whatever. But he's self-aware. He's like, look, man, I got a girl, and he had more kids. He's like, I let her know, like, I can't be faithful, and we have an understanding. He's like, it's just like, I can't do it. He's like, I'm not, and I don't think that he can't do it. He's not willing to do it, right? So it's like, he's like, I'm not. This is me. Like, if you take me how I am, like, I'm not you're a great girl. My ex-wife was a great girl, but I'm not changing.
So then, back to the topic at the point at hand, why men don't change for good women. He had 2 good women,
yeah,
and didn't change for either one of them. So it's ultimately an individual, personal thing that men have to address. Period. Because I can attest to it. I had one who, no bullshit. To this very moment, I believe my life would have been completely different with her by my side, and she was everything and then some from the time I met her when I was like 16 until now. And I had an opportunity and just didn't take it. I was maybe young, immature, too busy fucking my way to whatever, and didn't take it. And
I'm a firm believer, and I don't think she I don't think she was meant for you. Straight up. You would have had it.
There's a lot more to the story, and I don't want to, you know what I mean?
Okay. We talk off the podcast.
I mean,
No,
he may not be wrong,
but still to this day, I still feel like she would hold me down like no other, and like she's does all those intangible things that a man wants a woman to do without necessarily forcing it upon you. Like she motivates me, inspires me, holds me down, all the other good stuff.
So she's a great
just
friend,
by being who she is.
But you still haven't been with her though. You know what I'm saying?
And even if, like I've been with good women. Like I don't make bad decisions with the women I have babies with. I tell you that. They are all amazing mothers. You know what I'm saying? And all of them are good women, but at the end of the day, every single one of them still wasn't for me, except the one I'm having the baby with now. You know what I'm saying? But they were good women. And minus the cheating, I'd like to think the other parts I did right and well. We went years. So, but they still weren't for me. But you know what I'm saying? Like they had to serve, like you were saying, that purpose. And not to take anything away from their value, but we serve a purpose in everybody's lives. As men, when we fuck up and hurt women's feelings, that's to teach them something. You got to pull a lesson from it.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's the big thing too. A lot of men aren't self-aware enough to notice, recognize, and learn from the lesson. They don't even care about the lesson in it. It's more about either mending the wound or completely letting it go. When you break the lady's heart, let's fix it so she feels better, and now I'm good, or fuck it, I'm over it. And we haven't learned that lesson. There was no lesson in that.
They don't want the lesson, some of them. Some men, selfishly, don't want the lesson. You can preach to some people in general, till you blue in the face, and they'll walk away with nothing. You know what I mean? They just don't want to hear it. They're just not here for what it is. And it's like, and some would argue like, why do I got to change? Right? And I know I'm being devil's advocate, but I'm just trying to give another perspective. It's like, no, I don't want to change. It's like some men, like my man, maybe like, I'm not going to change. My next girl's going to change for me.
Oh, true.
Right? And I'm not saying that's right. I'm just telling you that.
I think that's a recipe for disaster within a committed relationship.
But is it?
I mean, if you think about it, why you going? I don't know. I think about it. It seems like oxymoron to be in a relationship to be like, but say I'm not going to be faithful. So if a woman knowingly is getting in a relationship with a man who tells her she's not going to be faithful, how much of a relationship are you really in? You know what I'm saying? If that's part of your criteria as a woman, So the concept, hats off to dude for making it work, because I don't know too many dudes.
Devil's advocate, though. Devil's advocate. You can be a man and tell a woman you're gonna be faithful until you blue in the face, and then not.
Right.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
write some great poems to cover that shit up too.
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep it 100, bro. You can.
But exactly. But that's my point. So it's like, if you got for instance, like you got a guy that's protecting, providing, doing everything that you need from him, and not for nothing, being honest, right? Like I'm putting my cards on the table. Like, here's what you can expect from me, and here's what I'm going to do. And I'm speaking about my man in this particular situation, and it's like, if you accept it, now you know you're getting honesty from this man, and you're getting everything else that you were looking for. Now, I'm not saying it's right, up to each his own, but what I am saying is, as fucked up as this is about to sound, you know you can trust him.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Like, Like, he's being honest. Like, you know, you can trust that he's going to be honest. Like, it's messed up as it sounds, because there's girls and there's women, that have endured so much pain, and all they wanted was a guy to be honest. And I'm not saying they would have. I'm not saying they wouldn't have. But who knows? Maybe if somebody would have been that honest, that brutally honest in the forefront, maybe they would. Now they have an option, right? Whereas we say, "Yo, we're gonna be right. We're gonna do right," and when we don't, now you're not giving them that option.
Right, but that goes back to the whole full circle thing with us being allowed and able to do what we will, because
exactly. If she's lowering her standards from jump, you know what I'm saying? If she's now, I can't fathom now, just at where I'm at, just wanting a woman to be honest with me. Like, is that really all I fucking, like, is that my ceiling, my standard? She just got to be honest. I need this, and this, and this at bare minimum for this to work. There are things, there are requirements, you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like, if she's going into it, just be honest with me. If you do this, then she's limiting what she's going to get out of a relationship. And that's on her. You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, it is. And I get that you may have had 5 to 6 experiences that led you to this point, but maybe you need to be the one to stop fucking around to the next relationship too. Or even if you're not fucking around, because women don't handle things the same as us, if they're not fucking around to their next relationship, are you working on yourself during that downtime for real? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you putting any work as a woman? Because if you were, maybe your standards wouldn't be all you need is honesty.
And I think, well, another thing I think, man, I think there's someone for everybody. That's what I think. I feel in my heart there's someone for everybody.
Or a couple someone's.
Yeah.
If a nigga telling Shorty he ain't gonna be faithful, then it's a couple someone's for everybody.
No, but
he told Shorty A he's not being faithful. Shorty B obviously got to know he's not being faithful.
But he has no commitment to Shorty B. So that's what I'm saying. If there's someone for everybody, so his someone is Shorty A. Right. Okay. So that's the only alliance that he has to worry about. Like, everything else doesn't matter. So I feel it worked. But again, I guess what we should have started this by saying is we're not going to come to a definitive conclusion on this topic, right? Like, this is a fluid conversation that, like, maybe one thing for me, one thing for you, Prentice, one thing for you, Chief. Like, it can be, it's a multitude of answers and viewpoints. But I think one thing that we can all agree on is that the change has to come from within. Like, I don't know that it has as much to do with the woman. Like, I know it has something to do with the woman, because you, like you said, it has to be a marriage, like, metaphorically, like, where it has to be, you feel it's time to change. And maybe it was a fleeting thought, subconscious thought, and then now you meet that woman who, like, damn, this is why I need to change. Right. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
That makes complete sense.
Like, absolutely. I don't think it's because the reverse is true. And I know I've been playing devil's advocate all evening, but the reverse is true. You say you change, you do that work on yourself, right? You do that work on yourself. I'm changing. Boom. You go give your all to the next woman. She hasn't done that work for herself.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And then now you experience that, and he's like, man, what the fuck I'm changing for? Right? And now you backslide.
That flip side. That flip side of being the person, not being, being a victim, and so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it comes in different ways, man. You know what I'm saying? Where you can make certain changes, and it's a great big deal to you, but to the other person, they never struggled with that. So they're not looking at that as, a big hurdle or anything. But for you, it's a big ass deal. And then you see certain behavior that you never gave them. And now you got to deal with that. And you got to decide once again why you're changing. Right. And again, if the motivation is this woman who's fucking up in your eyes right now, what are you going to do? So
it goes back to, it has to be within. Because,
right, I know for sure.
Like, when I look at it, it's like, I look at it like this, and not to make it about myself and not to give like a frivolous example, but I decide to give somebody that's homeless money, right? Or whatever. Now, if they decide to go buy drugs or alcohol, like, that says more about them than it does about me, right? So it's like, I'm giving this because this is who I am. This is what I do, right? Like, I help, right? whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If you decide to abuse that, then that's on you. But same thing is true for men and the changes that's necessary for them to get to where they want to be. Like it has to be who you are. It may not have been who you've been, but where you are right now has to be like who you are to make that change.
I can't remember the exact wording of it, but the meme was something like, we expect the other person to be a finished product while we give ourselves the grace to change or the grace to improve or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And that goes both ways. You know what I'm saying? Like the women, there's a lot of pressure is put on us to be this dude, but they haven't done the work. Or, you know, we expect her to be this person, but we haven't done the work. And I think ultimately, like you said, it comes from within. I know we dove into relationships pre-dating habits, but I think you learn a lot of this stuff or about this particular person in the whole dating process, no?
Mm-hmm.
So we go to topic 2, breaking poor dating habits.
Mm-hmm.
First thing comes to mind when you thinking breaking poor dating habits. I think for me, we get so caught up because we haven't done the work within ourselves. A lot of us carry our past into the present relationship and are completely unaware of it. And the best example I can give you is I dealt with a woman who was insecure, and whenever I got questioned, it was, you know, you going to fuck this, you going to be with this girl, going to be with that girl. So now when the next girl asks me, you know, where you going? In my head, what I hear is, what bitch you going to go see? Who's going to be there? And it's literally a genuine concern, like, yo, I just want to know where you're going to be. But in my head, I'm carrying trauma from, you know, past experiences. So I have to like catch myself, because I would be like, yo, like, why you want to, I'm going down the street. Like, I would get defensive.
Yeah, you give that same energy that you carry, and that shit
You know what I'm
goes
saying? And I think that is something that men or just people in general need to understand when going into new relationship. Make sure you have completely healed and done the work to rid yourself of any of the negative you carry from that last relationship.
This is gonna sound really vain, and I'm probably gonna receive some flack from it. But yo, I feel like I did so much damage in previous relationships. I don't feel like I was a victim as much as I was the perpetrator, right? Like I did all the punishing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what do you mean?
Like, I don't carry like trauma from last relationships.
But you may not be aware of it.
I may not be aware of it. You're right. I may not be aware of it. And me and Lo have been together for so long, so whatever was there may have been flushed out by now. But I just felt like I was the doer. Like I was the one that was administering the hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Be careful with that.
As a result, like I don't feel like I definitely didn't receive my fair share of hurt. Right? Like it wasn't reciprocated. Like all the hurt that I put out wasn't like given back to me.
And a lot of the hurt that we tend to receive comes from us hurting them.
What do you mean?
Like
internal, like you internalizing what you've done. And,
and it makes you feel fucking bad. Terrible for what you've done. You know what I'm saying?
The thing is, you got to make sure you're healing, but you got to forgive yourself.
Yeah, that's a fact.
That's what we don't do is, man, we don't forgive ourselves. And what happens is we carry either what we did to the woman that she forgave us for. You know she ain't forgiving you for that shit because she shows it in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And the guilt from that or the guilt from what we did before, it dictates not only how we act, but it dictates what we allow ourselves to receive. You know what I'm saying? And I know for me, there were things in previous relationships that I allowed myself to receive way more than I even deserved to, because those things that I did when I knew the percentage was all on my side or the majority on my side, I knew that the wrong I did held so much more weight in comparison to the wrong that they did that I allowed myself to take everything that she gave me because how much Prentice comes with. And that too is also not fair.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes we got to say, I know I fucked up, but nah, there are certain standards that I have to have as well. And I can't allow the pain that I've given to somebody else to dictate how much pain I allow myself to receive, because then how can I really heal?
Yeah, true.
No, and that was my experience. But
no, that's a fact.
I got to learn how to we got to learn how to forgive ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Forgiveness is so key, man. I was in a little group with some fellas talking a while ago, and forgiveness came up, and it was the whole wrapped around the whole dad thing, and it was just like, did you forgive him? And I'm like, wow, I never really, you know what I'm saying? And forgiveness is just is clutch. Men don't realize that forgiveness plays a big part in a lot of the shit that we do. You know what I'm saying?
With ourselves, bro.
Your dad.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, boy, that's another topic. But nevertheless, see how the shit pops up in every episode? You see what I'm saying? It's just crazy. Daddy issues, real life daddy issues.
Mom, look, let's
we're gonna get into this cat too.
I already know that conversation. We had that one.
We'll go there another day. But back to the poor dating habits. I think one of the notes I got is throw away the rules and games. You know what I'm saying? I think we go into this thing, it's a lot of like, it's a lot of cliche rules, or you got to know how to play the game. Yeah, I think things change once we evolve and go through these experiences, man, and you have to treat each situation differently. Yeah, we all got our tricks in our bag that work, but it's got to be a different thing when walking into new relationships, man.
I think that's a mentality. Yeah, I got to be in that group mentality. Like, she has to feel that same way, man. Yeah, if you go in with those, society likes to paint the pictures of what relationships are supposed to be like, and somehow we never seem to get in a relationship that's like the picture they paint, but we spend all of our relationships trying to recreate that picture, man. So
no, but that's a good point, because we spoke about this in previous episodes too, where it's like we mentally create a picture, and that consciously becomes the goal, but it's like it most likely won't look how you envisioned it, right? Like, it will have all the elements, but it won't look exactly how you envisioned it. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, and we also got to get clear on what we want, right? I think there's a lot of social stimulation to skew like our view on what it's supposed to look like, even if we already have a picture painted. No. Right? We may see something online, and you keep seeing that image online, and it starts to warp what you now want, right? Potentially. So
now, are you speaking what you want as an individual, or what you want as a unit? Like, open communication. I think it's
both. I think what Prentice said is true. It's like you guys have to both be on the same page. Right, me and you've been talking about that recently, right? Like, about what you want compared to what whoever it is you're gonna date wants. So there's that, and then you also have to get an expectation of what good looks like, right? Like, you have to again inspect what you expect. Like, what is a good like? One thing I'll credit my wife on that was very uncomfortable for me in the beginning when we started dating, but we both have pasts, right? We were friends first, and we both knew. There was a point in our life where we both wasn't shit, and we got that, right? And it's like, so what she used to do is she would literally run our relationship kind of like a business, in a sense where it's like, well, in my world, we have quarterly business reviews with clients, right? And basically it's like, hey, let's assess the last 3 months, what happened, what areas of opportunity do we have, what bright spots do we have, yada, yada, yada. And she would do that. And it wasn't formal. We'd be laying down, and she's like, okay, let's have a check-in. And then she'd start asking me questions. And it would make me uncomfortable, because I'm like, yo, why are you doing this? Like, we shouldn't have to do this. Like, why do we have to have this conversation? But from her standpoint, it's like, no, we have to have this conversation so we know that there's things that are being addressed, that aren't being said. Right. And that is where the end goal has to be the same. And it may not start off the same, right? You just meet somebody, you don't know where it's going to go. But at a certain point, you're going to have to say, okay, here's where I can see this going. Do you see it going there? Right. And if it's yes, then cool, rock. Right. And then set up mile markers on what that looks like. And if it's not, then hey, we're going to take this for what it is. We're going to have a good time. And it's going to be what it's going to be, however that shape, whatever that looks like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to be open, man. I'm going through that. I think like right now, with my girls, she got her dream job. Her dream job requires her to be out of the house a lot more, and not only out of the house, but when she's home, she is often working. Sometimes, right? I'm used to being on an airplane in some different state, being the one who comes back, goes back and forth, comes out. Quarantine is kicking, so I'm not on a single motherfucking save. So all the money I generate with the pen really is created here at the crib. You know what I'm saying? So now we have this new dynamic where I'm at the crib way more than she is. You know what I'm saying? And just the things you notice within that, it's important. It's funny because I sound like your wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm one of them people who need those check-ins because when situations and circumstances are different, yo, how are you feeling about this? Because for me on my end, even though I'm generating bread, but it feels different as a man for me to be at home the majority of the time over my girl who's over there doing her thing. And it's not a gender role thing. It's just what I'm used to. You know what I'm saying? And so when you get into a new relationship, you got to be able to have those check-ins and be able to say that, you know what, I just want to make sure you cool with certain circumstances because I want to make sure that to you, I'm not looking how I think I may look or feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want you to feel because I'm at the crib. You know what I'm saying? So I do shit like today, but I shampooed this whole fucking house, the carpets, right? Nigga, we just moved here last month and got new carpet. But I felt like because I was at the house and I'm not doing as much work as I like to, let me put in a little bit more work here that may make me feel good. And when she get home, she's going to be like, this is a new carpet. Why you shampoo this shit? But I got to feel a certain way. So we got to have conversations, I think, in that platform within relationships to talk about things. I know I'm talking hell long. My bad.
No, it's all good. Just for the record, when I come to the crib, I'm keeping my sneakers on.
Hey, nigga, no, you are not. No, not here.
Punch him in his throat as soon as he walk in.
No. So in talking to my homie about this breaking poor dating habits, they said the first time you argue will tell you most of what you need to know about the relationship. How do y'all feel about that statement?
Nah.
I just thought about something. How you break poor dating habits if you don't know you have them?
You got to be
self-aware, willing to look.
You have to be open to newness. I don't think that even answers your question.
No. But as I said it, I started thinking. I think we all know this, right? Themes, right? I think one way to break poor dating habits, to answer your question, if you don't know you have them, I'm not asking a question, I'm answering it, and I had no intention of doing this, it just kind of came to me, is if you continue to hear the same theme, right?
As you date, you mean?
Yeah, as you date. Like, if somebody says, on more than one occasion, more than one different female, you're selfish, for instance, right? And you dismissed it the first 3 or 4 times. If it comes up again, I think, oh, my bad. If it comes up again, I think you have to sit back and say, okay, why is everybody saying this?
But is it okay to do like the check-ins you were just talking about in the very, very beginning? Hey, how do you think this first date went? Do you think people are willing to divulge the negative components of that particular first date? Like if you go out with Shorty and you're like, hey, how did it go? Did you like, oh, I enjoyed myself, blah, blah. What do you think could have went differently?
I mean, but
like, do you think they'll give you that information to help you better yourself? Is anybody that honest?
First date, like if you go on a bad first date, you probably don't need to see them again. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. From whose perspective though?
I don't give a shit. I'll speak from my right.
No, what I'm saying is let's say it's not bad. Let's say it's not bad.
But bro, think about it.
But that's a lot for a first date, man.
Even in the beginning dating phase, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it okay to ask those questions to see what you can do to help build this?
See, but that's the thing. I struggle with that, man, because I'm sure you get a lot of advice from people, right? Just in life. Forget relationships, life. People giving you advice. I would venture to believe, because I know you very well, you don't adhere to all that advice. No. Right.
I'm susceptible to different opinions. I don't mind hearing what you guys have to say.
But me and Prentice are different, right?
Okay.
Like me and Prentice are different. Like I'm saying, if somebody gave you advice that you know, right? I have rules, right? I don't take marriage advice from somebody who's never been married. I don't take real estate advice from somebody who's never owned a house, and I don't take financial advice from somebody who's not independently wealthy, right? Like it's just kind of where I am. So what I'm saying is, consider you're right. Consider your audience, right? Like if it's in the beginning and you're taking advice from somebody that you're still getting to know, like on what you can do. I'm not saying don't listen to it, but what I am saying is how much of that are we taking at face value?
So here's why I got to be the contrarian and devil's advocate in that, because as a man who's never been married but has a plethora of experience, I think I would be willing to give solid relationship advice. Maybe not marital advice, but like Pete, we've had conversations where I'm like, yo, did you look at it this way? And you're like, you know what, you're right. Maybe I could, you know what I'm saying? So it's valid to an extent. Like you got to ask a person who's made all the mistakes who can give you some of the answers. You know what I'm saying?
I don't agree necessarily. If you want to be successful at something, take advice from people that's successful. Right. I'm not saying the person can't provide perspective. So hear me clear. I'm not saying that they can't. I'm not saying they can't provide perspective. But I don't think we talk all the time, right? And what turns out to be relationship advice ends up or starts with life advice, right? Me as your friend. That's different. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know, and this isn't a knock, but you don't know what it's like to be married. Like,
right, and I had that conversation
that you've never had before. So there's certain layers that you may not even be aware of, right? That I or someone that's married may not even be able to articulate because we're not even. It's not even a cognizant thought because it's something that's just like human nature,
right?
You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's things that you need to consider, and we're kind of going down a rabbit hole. But my point is, first date, no, I'm not asking for advice. Like if it goes bad on the first date, I probably don't need to be with her. I'm being honest.
The fact that we're gonna go on a second tells me everything I need to know at that point in time for me. Now, like if I go from first date to we going out again, then we're good. And yeah, like you said, if I feel the need for me, I would never feel the need to have a successful initial date and be like, so let's break down what went well our first date.
So I didn't have that conversation with her, but I had it with myself. So I'm coming home.
Did you have a bad first date?
No. I'm assessing my act. So I'll give you an example of what happened. So I go on a date, everything is dope. Like we have a real good time. You know, we converse. No, we converse, everything's cool. She told me this what she hit me with. She had a whole live-in boyfriend, but they weren't like, you know what I mean? We don't go together. Right. So I want him to leave, whatever. So during the conversation, she was talking about how, you know, whatever she was unhappy with. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was just like, yo, we got talking about like falling in love. Like, that would be easy to make you fall in love. And she like looked at me kind of like this nigga sounds cocky or arrogant. And in my head, I'm going, no, I don't mean to come off that way, but I'm saying it'd be easy because you just told me everything he's not doing. So all I got to do is what he's not doing, you know, give you the stuff that you're looking for. And then it becomes easy to go that way. So,
were you triggered because people have called you cocky in the past?
No, it had nothing to do with, in the moment the conversation went through. Oh. And when I got home, I'm sitting back going, you know, it was cool. Like, what did I do anything that could have like rubbed it the wrong way? And that's the only thing I thought it might have came across differently.
What ended up happening? Oh, she had
a whole living boyfriend, so it wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? It was nothing.
And here you go putting extra thought after the first date to a girl who's still fucking a nigga in the bedroom.
But you see my point. My point though, again, that's part of being self-aware and being able to go home and sit back and go, yo, what could you have done better? Are you like trying to help me grow? I guess, you know what I'm saying? And I guess we're not doing enough of that.
You know, we got to get to the point as men, I think, honestly, we got to get to the point as black men where we hear something like that. She got a boy who won't leave or whatever, and we immediately snip and vacate the premises. We don't entertain the idea of having to deal with the energy from another man or her not being separated from it. And I think that comes to like maturity and evolution. But I think in order to break them dating habits, we got to start setting some more standards for. We need some principles, like some new principles when we start on a new relationship. You know what I mean? I think that's one way.
Well, I don't even think it got to be new. I think like a question, and I'll get to this at the end of the episode, but a question that was asked to me that I struggled with initially to answer was, what's your purpose? Like that question was asked to me, what's your purpose?
In regards to relationship, life, what are we talking about?
The interesting thing is this, and I'll speak for myself on this. Like when I was thinking about it, my purpose actually transcends.
Okay.
Right? So it transcends all relationships that I have. But when I asked that, I gave this, man, I gave like a roundabout answer that didn't make sense when I read it back to myself.
There's a lot to that. One, who asked you that? Was it an employer? Was it a lady? Was it your parents? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
it was
a
an
football
employer.
coach?
It was an employer.
An employer.
Right.
Asked you what your purpose is.
Yeah.
Blanket statement.
Yep.
So it wasn't like, what's your purpose in applying?
What's your
purpose? Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So that question had never been asked to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is why I gave a stupid ass answer initially. But then when it came back up, I'm like, I'm glad you brought that back up because I wanted to address that. Because after reading my answer, I realized that that's not my purpose. So, Prentice, to you said new standards, right? And I don't think that we have to have new standards. I think we have to know what our purpose is. Like, what's the purpose of this? Like, I'm getting to know you. Why?
Yeah, but they gotta have value to you, though. You know what I mean? Like, you're at a job for you to have that perspective.
Yeah. Your purpose is whatever it is. It doesn't matter. But will they fulfill that purpose?
Do you think that answer,
or can they be a part of that purpose?
Do you think the answer to that question can be the same no matter who asks it?
That is a great question.
No.
I don't know. I can speak for myself. So. For me, it was.
If I asked you right now what your purpose is, would you give me the same, the new answer to that question that you gave the employee?
The crazy shit is the answer was, that's the thing. The answer was always the answer. I just never looked at it from that perspective. So the answer is to protect and provide. Mm-hmm. That's my purpose, right? So, well, how does that apply in work? Okay, well, my purpose in work is to provide leadership, provide knowledge, provide coaching to help people become their best selves. Mm-hmm. The protection part is I protect them from things that will like stunt their growth or get them off their path, right? I protect them from outside influences, right? In life, protect and provide. Like, I have a family. I'm going to always provide. I'm always going to protect them physically from any harm that can come to them, period. Right. So that was my purpose. And that's always been like my mantra. Like, I've always said that. But it wasn't until I had to think about it where I was like, yeah, that actually applies here too. And again, that's just me. Like, that happens to be my purpose. So it works. But I think and I'll speak for myself, I didn't define that. And I ended up having conversations with people about it afterwards. Cause I'm like, damn, that kind of like struck me. You know what I'm saying? And then talking to them, I'm like, well, what's your purpose? And it was hard for people to answer, just like me. Like, I wasn't able to answer it at first. But I think once we define that, it will allow us to be able to pick up early if this is going to be aligned with our purpose or not. You know what I'm saying? But you have to, and this is just my opinion, you kind of have to know, like, start with the end in mind. Right. What's the end? What's the purpose? Like, why are you here? Why are you doing this?
Okay. So I hear that. I think, honestly, I know we've been yapping for a while, but I think that's a great way to kind of close this out and leave asking people, what is your purpose? You know what I'm saying? I think that's a great way to kind of close the door, and maybe we can touch back on when we open up next episode, but like a way to just kind of engage conversation to help men think. I think it's really important to know and be able to define your purpose. I think, like you said, if your answer can be given no matter who's asking it for you, then you've learned a lot about yourself and set a foundation for where the direction of your life could potentially go.
Yeah, I definitely would like to talk about that because I know off top, like hearing you say yours, protect and provide, I can think of 10 different answers I can give depending on who's asking me that question. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and again, I had never been asked before, right?
Yeah, no, I feel you.
And for mine, it just happened to work for all, right? Yeah. Yours, you may have 5 different ones. Yeah. Right? Like
right.
You know, like my purpose in this situation is this. My purpose in this part of my life is this. I don't know.
I think
we should definitely talk about that.
I think when they labeled it, what's your purpose, and don't give any context behind it, you're right. It does stump you. but it also makes you think. And anybody who's aware enough is going to sit back and go, yo, I need to have a definitive answer to this, because I don't want to be stumped again. But two, I want to have a profound insight on what is meaningful
what
to
you're
me.
doing this for.
Right.
It's the core of your foundation, man.
Right.
Purpose.
Exactly.
And yes, and the crazy shit is we just go, right? And life isn't bad by no means for us, right? Like we just go, and it's just like anything, man. It's like a goal. Like once you write it down, it becomes real, right? Like when you say it out loud, then it'll become real. And I think we operate with it maybe subconsciously and better in our mind what the purpose is, but until we like say it, it doesn't become real. Like I think we do things that aligns with it subconsciously, but it's like we're not actively going towards it or focusing on it. You know, at least that's for me, right? Like that's what it was for me.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think that's a good way to kind of close out and asking people. So you want to go first with the final thought?
Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, this will be, for the most part, my final episode. I've been fortunate to have some doors open up for me. And as a result, it's going to take 100% commitment on my part. And
which I think is some bullshit, by the way, but I got to respect it and congratulate my man for getting a promotion. I'm trying to get a promotion.
Yeah, so
you heard what Mr. Miley said?
I made the decision with Chief to just, essentially take a step back. I may pop in every now and then for a guest appearance or something like that, but part of the reason why we have Prentice on this morning or this evening is because he will now be the new co-host of All Black Men Need Therapy.
Low key passing the torch.
Passing the torch. I feel like this was everything I wanted it to be. Right, our first season, in my opinion, was a success. Based on the feedback that we got, and like we said from the beginning, this is our therapy that you guys just happen to be a part of.
We are not therapists.
Right.
This is just how we
get through it. And if it works for you, if you can pull something from it, then that's phenomenal, right? And I think it needs to continue, right? And I didn't want Chief to do it by himself, and I actually recommended Prentice, and I'm grateful that he's able to step in and keep the party going, if you will. So
I'm super, happy for you though. You know what I mean? And everything that's gonna come for you. I do like the dynamic of how this conversation went just now with the three of us. I think it was real dope. Like, what I'm saying? And for you and Prentice to actually have just your first real conversation, I think it flowed naturally and everything went smooth. I think it's dope. P, we've gotten some good responses, man. And I think, we just gotta do what we can to take it up a notch and, get some more eyes on it and invite some cool people in and have some more intense conversation to help Black men heal, yo.
Yeah, man. I think this is a good symbolism of what we need to be doing as Black men anyway. When one transitions to a focus on a different area of life, especially successful, you know what I'm saying? We bring another one to come in and fill the space that they're meant to fill in that space at that time, so we all can keep growing. You know what I mean? There's levels to this, and that's all this is. So I'm grateful and honored, you know what I mean, to be able to come into something with integrity and some purpose for us as Black men, first and foremost. So shout out to the two of y'all for a successful season. But how I look at it is me coming in, adding to the group, adding to the pot, and we continue to make this successful, regardless if our face is on the camera every time or your face is somewhere else doing whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? So, hats off to everybody who's already been tuning in and listening. We just gonna keep it going, man. We're gonna heal.
Word. I need y'all to blow this up so I can come back and get my doggone percentage.
Exactly. For sure. So final thoughts. One, most important I think I took from this is definitely be able to sit down and define your purpose. Mm-hmm. Secondly, don't be afraid to look in the mirror and understand that we are responsible for all of our actions. Mm-hmm. And we got to stop pointing the fingers and stop looking for good women to help us change. And in actuality, we need to do that within ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the big thing for me, is really being able to look in the mirror, recognize it, and then actually do something about it. Because we can recognize the shit and then nothing will happen.
And I think more as important to that is, it doesn't matter what you tell your significant other. right? I'm gonna change, baby. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna work on myself. What matters is what you tell yourself, right? Like that is the most important conversation you're gonna have, right? The one with yourself. So I think that is something that we have to be more comfortable with, like having. You know what I mean?
And I think just, my final statements I would say is absolutely to any men listening to this, be prepared to hear some really authentic, genuine conversations, but also be prepared to be held accountable, because we're not doing this for fun. We're doing this because we want to get better and grow. And if we aren't communicating with each other and holding each other accountable, while we do it, I think we're cheating each other. So
it's just entertainment at that point, right?
Yeah.
No accountability, it's just entertainment.
Yeah. So we're gonna hold each other accountable through this whole thing while we grow. You know what I mean? But we're gonna be honest about how we see things.
That's dope. I don't know why, people. I feel like me and you get some arguments. Like I feel like we gonna really challenge each other. Like I don't like.
But this will be the first time we argue, man. So yeah, let's do it.
It's healthy though, because
sure.
if you two are arguing, that means there's real emotion tied to it, right? And which means if you guys have real emotion, I can't believe that you're the only people out there that do. Right. So that means that may provoke a conversation elsewhere.
And we've had a couple episodes where it was like therapy within the therapy. You know what I'm saying? We've recognized some shit right in the moment. It's like, wow, we never really looked at it like that. So
and to the listeners, I think when you see two brothers on this show disagreeing with each other, don't be so quick to choose a side. There's no need to choose any sides. You can take things that are being told by this brother and things being told by this brother and figure out what works for you. So the goal is to take from different perspectives and different ideas and be open to everything that's being presented on this show. That way you got more of an option. You got a meal in front of you. You got different ingredients that you can choose from to figure out what works best for your pot. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to it, but I think we're going to be good.
I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be dope.
It's going to definitely be great.
Things going to be dope. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 1, season 2 of All Black Men Need Therapy. Do us all a favor and hug a black man today.
Do it.
And tomorrow.
Do it.
Peace.
We out.
All right, y'all.